Good morning and welcome to this workshop on digital innovation as a bridge between the European and African ecosystem. I'm Jan Bormans from the European Startup Network and I will be moderating this workshop. Before we start giving the floor to our distinguished panel members, I would like to give some context. So digital innovation and much higher levels of digital inclusion hold large promises to the African business and citizens. During EABF here, the past days, we had presentations and high-level panels that expressed the belief that in order to realize this untapped potential, we needed to address different aspects, namely the fragmentation of the African ecosystems, the relative lack of digital skills, and the insufficient engagement of talent, especially concerning youth and women, the difficult access to business development services, including access to finance for startups and MSMEs. And finally, four, the shortage of reliable and resilient infrastructure, both digital and non-digital, such as warehouses, smart logistics, and electricity. So if we can address these issues, this will allow for African businesses and startups to be more productive and to create jobs locally while at the same time tapping into global demand. Of course, these things must be put into practices, and a lot of things are already happening on the ground, fortunately. And so the purpose or the idea of this workshop is to explore such practical steps, and I will soon give the floor to my panelists, but maybe a bit of housekeeping. So we are about to start a panel discussion and you will have the opportunity to ask questions on the platform. So please write your questions on the dedicated Q&A box on the platform. So not a chat box, there is a Q&A box. And we will pick up your questions there and we will relay them to the panel's participants here. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to be joined here by Carmen Serna, Head of EU Projects at Insomnia Digital Innovation Hub, by Moataz Helmi, who is Chairman of AfriLabs, Agatha Hidalgo, which is European Affairs Coordinator at France Digital, and Abdur Rahim, CEO of WhatsApp and Technical Project Lead of the European project HUBiquitous. So I will now ask the panel members to introduce us to who they are and what their organizations or projects are doing in the context of this workshop. And every speaker will have, let's say, 5 to 7 minutes to give their initial presentation. And I would kindly ask Carmen if you can share your screen and start giving your presentation. Carmen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jan. Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure for me and, well, on behalf of Insomnia as well, to be participating at the EU-Africa Business Forum. And in particular, it's a real honor for me to be sharing this panel with my colleagues, Abdur, Moataz, and Agatha. And, well, I have, yes, here it goes. So I have a few minutes to share the status of the digital innovation hubs in Europe. But before that, I also want to explain what Insomnia is and what we are doing in this scenario. So actually, Insomnia is a business accelerator and a digital innovation hub since 2016. We started to promote these open innovation programs in the fintech industry, collaborating with financial entities in our country. And with these open innovation programs have been very valuable in the fintech industry, and we transferred this methodology to other sectors as InsurTech, Industry 4.0, Trade Tech, or Agrotech, for instance. And currently, and since the pandemic, Insomnia has launched with the Valencia regional government an open innovation program on e-health that already integrates a large ecosystem made up of insurers, startups, technology companies, hospitals, laboratories, pharmas, and public services of our region. And well, our model is very special. It's based on open innovation. What we do is to connect the talent of startups with the digitalization needs of big corporates or public administration. With these co-creation processes involving businesses and different innovation areas, we, let's say, create the solutions that the market does not find. We define specific challenges with the corporates and the public administration, and we are able to scout the different technologies in the markets and to connect them. We connect the, let's say, the offer with the demand, and we get along in this process, supporting the startups and supporting these small companies to reach the market. Actually, this is how our model looks in numbers. So we have accelerated so far more than 100 projects. We have launched and implemented more than 20 acceleration programs so far. 90% of the prototypes we have been supporting are already in the market, and we are able to optimize this process and support the deployment of these new products in between 4 and 8 months. We are also, as a digital innovation hub, we also have a training center specifically. Our ecosystem currently is composed of more than 3,000 startups at international level, and the success rate is around the 50%. This means that more than this 50% of startups that we support establish a business relationship with the corporate or public administration after our program. So this is quite a high success rate, and we are very proud of it, and we are very happy to be transferring this methodology as well to European and international landscapes. So since 2017, we are a digital innovation hub under the I4ME's initiative of the last Horizon 2020 program. We are fully operational DAH under this Smart Specialization platform, and currently we are candidate to European Digital Innovation Hub under the new Digital Europe program for the region of Valencia. We are also members of EIT Climatic and EIT Digital, and intermediary organization of Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program. We are currently active in projects in Erasmus+, in Horizon 2020, in COSME, and EIT Digital. And well, what is the situation now regarding digital innovation hubs in Europe? This digital innovation hub concept was created and supported by European Commission during the last financial framework 2014-2020, and actually currently we can find a catalog in the Smart Specialization platform composed with more than 700 different DAHs all around Europe. Actually in Spain, for instance, we are around 90 DAHs who are included in this catalog. But now we are in this new financial framework in the second year currently, and this digital innovation hubs concept and strategy has been included under the new Digital Europe program. And actually the objective that this program and the European Commission has set is the creation of an initial network of European digital innovation hubs. So now we are talking about EDAH, and the idea is to well, reduce the number of EDAHs and regulate this in a different way. So in the last period, the Commission allocated 500 million euros, and now in this new period, just for the 3 first years, the Commission is allocating more than 300 million euros. And the idea is to have a geographically spread network of up to 240 EDAHs in Europe. So for instance, to measure this, in Spain we have now something around 90, and it is to have no more than 20. And well, this EDAH, this initial network, it will be created in a two-step process. We have completed step 1, and now we are in the step 2. So the candidates have been appointed by the member states, and now have to submit a new application that actually closes next week, next Tuesday. And from Insomnia, for instance, we are jointly applying with other agents and actors in our region. This is a strategy we have agreed on, to just submit one application for our region and make sure we all are there represented. And well, we are preparing this application now, so hopefully Insomnia will be involved in this new initial network of EDAH. And well, it's obvious that digital innovation hubs are a key pillar under the European Commission's Digitizing European Industry initiative. The idea is that companies benefit from this DAH network to better understand how to improve their process, products, and services through digital technologies. So the concept is that DAHs are one-stop shops that support companies, in particular small, medium enterprises, but also public organizations in their digital transformation. And the European Commission has organized 4 kinds of services. So test before invest, skills and training to make the most of digital innovation, support to find investment, and innovation ecosystem and networking. What we are doing now, for instance, in the application that we are submitting next week, is to specify concrete services under these 4 categories that we are going to be offering to the startup SMEs ecosystem in our region during the next years. And just to conclude my presentation, this is very important because still only 20% of SMEs in the whole European Union are highly digitized, so we need to increase this percentage in the upcoming years. We need to focus, support capacity building of hubs in all regions. We need to create these hubs and the structure so they can provide these valuable services. It's very important to the investments, so the hubs needs to have these investments to provide the services. We need to be specialized, this is also very important, and we need to develop our skills and help others to acquire them as well. And just to conclude, well, European Digital Innovation has, it's obvious that we will play a key role to stimulate the broad uptake of disruptive technologies by industry, and in particular small, medium enterprises and mid-caps, but as well public sector organizations in Europe. And well, if you want to know more about Insomnia and about our open innovation programs, we have open programs right now that startups and companies around Europe, but also abroad, can apply. So be happy to connect with me by LinkedIn, email, and well, of course, follow HUBiquitous project. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Carmen, for this presentation. So then I would like to move from the European side to the African side and give the floor to Moitas, who is chairman of AfriLab and who will share his insights. The floor is yours.
Thank you, John. Thanks everyone for inviting me today. So I'm gonna share my screen. I'll try to be fast. Hello everyone, this is Moitas Helmi. I'm a chairman of AfriLabs. I'm going to speak today about digital innovation hubs in Africa. So basically, so AfriLabs is a network of DIH around Africa. So we, to give you a little background about digital innovation hubs in Africa, so basically we, based on Brighter report this year with AfriLabs, we spotted over 1,000 innovation hubs across Africa in 52 countries. We have in AfriLabs around 320 members hubs existed in around 51 countries. Our headquarters is in Abuja, Nigeria, and we are composed of like very different type of hubs, like co-working spaces, incubators, accelerators, and many other innovation hub business simulators, and in both 51 countries. And as an AfriLabs, we try to structure the ecosystem through digital innovation hubs, and we run different programs to support those innovation hubs. Like, for example, we have what we call AfriLabs Capacity Building Program, which is a capacity building program on 2 million euros grant by the French government, Digital Africa. And we also have another project called Catalytic Africa, which is 1.5 matchmaking fund to support investment around our digital innovation hub. So basically, it's matching fund up to 25,000 euros for startups that are based on our digital innovation hub, and it's funded also by Digital Africa French government. And we already have been successful to do 2 investments in Ghana and Nigeria, and we are about to run another 2 investment this year. So basically, the importance of digital innovation hubs, it's very important for a continent like Africa for different reasons. First of all, it represents a safe space for African entrepreneurs. We don't have very often good education or university hubs around Africa. So it somehow represented an alternative or a safe places for those youth or entrepreneurs to come on board and to try to share best practices, knowledge, and meet with like-minded people. Then it helped to structure the innovation ecosystem. So and link it to the formal economy. As you may know that the big part of the African economy is coming from the informal economy. So this is like a kind of restructuring this innovation economy and try to link it with the formal economy. Also, it attracts a lot of qualified communities like diaspora, women, and youth. This is a very important aspect as well, because as you might know, a lot of like those digital innovation hubs are funded and invested by African diaspora who are based elsewhere in Europe or Germany or France, which is a very important aspect in how these digital innovation hubs come on board and being created. So when diaspora want to invest back in their hometowns or in their home countries, they invest in this type of hubs. It's a very agile models. It can be just a co-working space, physical space, can be incubators, accelerators, and it also helps angel investors and venture capitalists to spot this kind of investment. So this is a picture of one of our capacity building workshops that we are running now in Cameroon, for example. And as you see, like it's a meetup or a workshop, 3 days workshop for different digital innovation hubs from Central Africa region, and they are like sharing knowledge and best practice. So those, as I mentioned before, like digital innovation hubs can be incubators. So based on a Brighter report, a report that has been issued by AfriLabs and Brighter, we spotted like 32% of our hubs are of a pool of hubs are incubators. We have around 28% are co-working spaces and 23% about innovation hubs, and many other we have like spotted around 11% as incubators. And generally speaking, DIH or digital innovation hubs in Africa are not sector focused because they have very limited resources, and for a long time it has been like very generic as a hubs, but we started to see different interest in being in supporting a vertical type of startups like IoT or health tech or agriculture and stuff like that. So it started to be more focused in recent years. Also, we can here spot how this business model works. So in terms of revenue, the DIH in Africa has different revenue stream, like events, like program and consulting and stuff like that. And in terms of cost, it has also different, based on the business model, it's different in terms of cost breakdown. So generally speaking, there is a very proportional relationship between the number of digital innovation hubs in each country and the investment inflow in this country. So last year only we spotted around 340 startup who raised investment, technical tech startup who raised investment in Africa. The big portion went to Nigeria. Like Nigeria, it's secured around 1.8 billion USD, and followed by South Africa and then Egypt. Those are and Kenya as well. So like 90% of all the investments that goes to African startups goes to those 4 countries. And it's very concentrated recently, but we are trying with AfriLabs, for example, in this type of matchmaking fund, we limited 2 funds per country to make sure that all countries have equal opportunities for investment as well. But it's very interesting as well to mention that the total equity, it's 5.2 billion USD secured last year, just in 1 year, and this is almost 264% increase from the year before, 2020, which is the highest rate of investment inflow in any continent all over the world. It's very high. We went from 2 billion to 5.2 billion, and we had around 14 mega deals in Africa last year. Also, those type of investment, we can see that the fintech, like 62% of the money came on those technical startups, went to only fintech, followed by logistic tech and educational tech as well. So this is a brief about how this investment and inflow of money comes on board in the African ecosystem. And as I mentioned, it's always very interesting to spot that, for example, as we mentioned here, in Nigeria is the highest in the investment inflow, and at the same time it's the highest in the number of GIH in Africa as well, followed by the South Africa and Egypt. So we always see the importance of the relationship between GIH in Africa and the investment and securing funds for innovations and startups. So yeah, thank you so much, and I leave the floor for my colleagues.
Thank you, Mortaz. So I think we got a nice overview until now from the digital innovation hubs in Europe and in Africa. And so now it's time to zoom into the startup ecosystem. And so I'm happy to give the floor to Agatha Hidalgo from France Digital.
Hi, Jan. Hi, everyone. Very nice to be here with you today. Let me share my screen. So my goal today is to give you a sneak peek into the links between the French and African innovation ecosystems. But before we do that, let me give you a bit of context about who I am and who we are. So I'm Agatha, I'm European Affairs Coordinator at France Digital. We are the largest startup association in Europe. We are an apolitical, non-governmental organization representing some 2,000 between startups and investors, mainly venture capital funds. Our goal is to support the emergence of European digital champions. And the way we help companies is across 5 verticals. The first is matchmaking between startups and investors. The second is recruiting talent for startups. The third is maximizing social and environmental impact of startups. The fourth, and it's similar to what Carmen is doing in Valencia, is helping startups find business opportunities with corporations, so finding corporate clients. And the last one, and the one which concerns me directly, is making the voice of innovative businesses heard by policymakers in Paris and in Brussels. And that's how I know Jan as well. All of this we do with a quite small team of just 20 people and an equally sized board. And the reason why I'm mentioning the board is that it's a very nice screenshot of the ecosystem in France today. It's 50% entrepreneurs, 50% investors. And for the first time in our 10-year history, we also achieved a positive gender balance in the board, having more women than men. So that's a fun fact we're very proud of. About our relations with Africa. Well, to be fully transparent with you, we're in the first step of exploring this link, but I can already show you our latest engagement with African startups. This was in last December. We were sitting in the jury of a hackathon organized by an incubator in Estonia and fully devoted to African startups from all across the continent. And it's been really a blast. We've seen so many good ideas. The winner that I'm showing here was from the category of clean tech and material tech, but the company that got the biggest prize was actually in fintech, which is in line with Morta's just showed us that fintech happens to be the biggest sector in African startups. A bit more about the links between France and Africa. Well, from our analysis, there are plenty of connection points between these two worlds. The first is, of course, companies, is startups. So there is an increasing number of French innovative firms that are looking into expanding into the African market. And why is that? Well, you probably know better than myself that it's a huge market, an incredible untapped potential, a lot of young people, a lot of mobile-first people, mobile natives. And there's plenty of sectors where expansion is possible. So I'm citing here just a few examples of companies that are looking into African markets, especially countries like Nigeria and Cameroon. So we have customer management, running water, insurance, education. It's quite diverse, and this number of companies is rising. But I also thought it would be interesting to look into another example, which is kind of the other way around. And it's the story of Quick Delivery, which is a logistics startup, B2B, based in Nigeria and founded by a French founder. So we also have the story of Europeans going to Africa to launch their business over there. And I think it's extremely interesting to see this trend. There are also plenty of links when it comes to investment. And at different levels. So in France, we have a business angel network called Africa Angels, but we also have venture capital funds that are devoted to investment in Africa, such as FADAB. And more recently, also crowdfunding platforms have emerged, among which the most prominent is HUBiquitous. So as you see, there's plenty of interest from France-based investors, be them European or African, into investing into African businesses. When it comes to networks, I think it's something that was mentioned in the slides by Mortas earlier too. It's very important to have the representation of the African diaspora in Europe. And there is indeed a network of diaspora founders in France. Aside from that, there's also a French think tank called Choiseul, which is pretty big over here, who opened a significant branch in Africa a few years ago. And this links me to the rankings that we have in France of African entrepreneurs and businesses, among which the Choiseul ranking is very influential here because it lists the 100 most influential executives under 40 years old in Africa. Another interesting but different ranking is instead the Up 40 Index by another business association in France, which lists the 40 most active French companies in Africa. So I recommend you have a look at it if you're curious to know which young companies are expanding into the African market. There's also a track, I would say, around education and training with schools like Simplon that offer free digital education for young people, but also for people looking for professional reconversions. They have a quite strong footage in France, but they have now partners to expand in Africa. And the latest country they opened is Chad, which might be a bit out of the radar often, but certainly a lot of untapped potential. And the last link I would like to mention relates to incubators. So here in France, we have a network called Bondinov that brings together incubators that only incubate startups by African founders. But on the other hand, there's also the opposite. So the French government and a number of other public agencies are financing a network of incubators in Africa called Africa Innov. So there's a bit of funding and expertise coming from Europe, but the whole team's networks and incubated companies are based in Africa and in several countries. This is pretty much about it. As I mentioned, we are really exploring new ways to collaborate with African businesses and innovators. So very happy to stay in touch. You have my email, you have my number, and you can, of course, also reach out on LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Agatha, for this nice overview. And then I'm very happy to now give the floor to Abdur Rahim, who will present the HUBiquitous project. Abdur, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me well now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, so yes, my name is Abdur Rahim, and I'm the technical manager of the HUBiquitous project, and at the same time, I'm also the CEO of organization called WAZI-UP. For HUBiquitous, this is actually the EU-funded project, which was funded in the last call with Horizontal 220. And the objective of this program is to how the African innovation ecosystem and startup ecosystem can be bridging with the European innovation and startup ecosystem. So this is this is a 3.5-year project, and in this project we have around 9 partners, and 5 partners from European side and 4 partners coming from African side. The consortium are pretty much, it is one side, it has a technical partner who are being in the different sort of technology like WAZI-UP and Orange. And then there are partners are more on the digital innovation ecosystem, which are bridging the startup ecosystem like ESN, District, and Insomnia, and another partner. Sorry. So the history of HUBiquitous is actually it started quite a long time, almost 7 years before, with a project actually we call WAZI-UP. And from that, we have been active in quite many different countries, and from the WAZI-UP to WAZI-HUB, and now is HUBiquitous. So in this almost 7 years, so we have been working in the different stages of the capacity building activities, and the whole this bridging this innovation ecosystem is. The HUBiquitous is actually being the very strong, important part of the ecosystem is the capacity building, technical digital capacity building. And so what we have seen that previously the colleague the Moitas he was presenting that in Africa a lot of digital innovation hub, and many of these digital innovation hub are somehow co-working space or accelerator or incubator and thing, but there are very less digital innovation hub which has the competence on the technology. So there are very less at the competence center where a digital innovation hub need to provide a service like a test before invest or skill. So this sort of digital skill is quite lagging in Africa, and that is why we want to bridge that with the project, that how the European and digital innovation hub can bridge with the African digital innovation hub to build the digital capacity. And the way that we are proposing these activities in Africa, that we say, okay, we develop 3 innovation enabler. We call 3 innovation enabler, and one of the enabler we call solution lab. The purpose of the solution lab is to bring the digital infrastructure for the hub. So we are bringing a more kind of, I would say, the scalable and sophisticated digital innovation infrastructure for the hub. For those are more the technical hub, to build for possibly for the deployment and testing the new application, new ideas, and new innovation. And the infrastructure are very much on the not only for the software, it also include the hardware, robotic, hardware, AI. So it's more IoT and AI and all the emerging technologies. And then another innovation enabler we are bringing, we are calling the business application business box. And this application business box is actually packaging all the hardware, software as business tools for the startup to rapidly starting new businesses, new prototyping the new application. In Africa, we have seen that a lot of young people and young entrepreneurs who really wanted to do some development and they wanted to start some business activities, and this application business box will help to speed up the deployment possibilities. And then we have another enabler we call Meet Hub, and this Meet Hub is where the different ecosystem actor like the startup, entrepreneur, developer, they come together and exchange that. So around these three enabler, which is very much technical innovation enabler, we have developed a 3 program. One we call talent program. So what we want to do, we want to build a talent in Africa, digital talent in Africa, in the different countries. And then we also will launch the accelerator program. In the accelerator program, we will start select the different startups to be train them to accelerate their businesses. And then at the end, we want to really build a community, a European and African startup and innovation community. And the program is actually going to implement in the 5 African countries, which is Egypt, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, and Kenya. And the way we are going to implement, we have also selected a 30 digital innovation hub where we want to build the capacity for them. And this innovation hub, we have selected the way that it's not only the hub located on the more privileged side, like the capital city. We also wanted to have a hub are located on small town and countryside in order to upgrade community. So the upgrade African community should be also benefited from digital innovation capacity that we are bringing in the project. So at the end of the day, in the project, we'll develop a very technical tools, three technical tools. So what we call that this solution lab. As I said, the solution lab is a set of infrastructure. It includes a different sort of hardware and software tools. So we package them, and a digital innovation hub will have all those hardware. And then another is it will also, this package will also come together with the different sort of digital training. So we'll have a training option, like for example, for IoT, electronics, and different sort of sensor, and also the mobile application. So what we have really seen in Africa, I think it's very interesting that in Africa, in terms of the talent, there are quite a lot of talent. You will find how to develop a mobile application or web application. They are very good. But when it's coming to the electronics, on coming to the communication technology, then this is where we find that there need to be built a lot more capacity. And that's where this HUBiquitous is coming, bringing the hardware and software to build the hand-on skill. And then our meetup platform is actually where we'll develop and bring together different sort of the communities around. So this is a online platform, and we are implementing this online service platform for Tech Hub. So as a Tech Hub, you will have the solution lab as a hardware package, and Tech Hub will have also the different sort of training courses, all already built training courses. Also, Tech Hub can also have their own training courses, and there will be also different sort of application business box will come as a nice package. So that is actually what we are going to release as a tools for African Digital Innovation Hub to bridge with the European Digital Innovation Hub, and in end of April we are going to release that platform to be used by that. And that's all from my side. Thanks.
Thank you, Abdur. So in fact, we just heard a concrete example from Abdur, how digital innovation is key in bridging the European and African ecosystems. It's key, but it's not enough. He also spoke about talent, capacity building, business expertise. So I would like to ask first Carmen, and then the other panelists can certainly jump in. What's her view on this aspect?
Hi, Jan. Thank you. So the specific question was, sorry, Jan.
Yeah. So you know how digital technology can help to close the gap between Africa and Europe. So we have seen one example by Abdur, where he says, you know, technology is key. It's not only it's not only software, it's hardware and software, but it's not only technology, it's also talent, capacity building, business development. So any further thoughts on that?
Yeah, so, well, I think that if we are only relying on the technology to be the solution, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I think it's not. I think technology is already here, it's everywhere, we can access it anytime. I think we are seeing everyday new solutions to problems that we don't even are aware of. Like I checked this week, like something called tachograph. I didn't know what was that. I investigated, but I think we are seeing new things every day. So in my opinion, I think the key point in order to close this gap between Africa and Europe, and I think this is what we should focus on, is to facilitate the collaboration between us, the transfer of knowledge, the know-how, the opportunities, and actually this is what we are doing in the HUBiquitous project. Abdur was mentioning the Meet-Hub platform. I think this would be like a key step forward to closing this gap. This will be a running online collaboration platform to boost Africa and Europe partnerships by creating a joint innovation ecosystem. So I think, yeah, the collaboration will be essential and key to achieving that. Jan, you're muted.
I know. Thank you, Carmen. So Agatha, do you have any complementary views on this? So, you know, how to close the gap between Africa and Europe?
I definitely join Carmen in saying that capacity building is key, and also given the current mobility constraints that we have, it's probably the best way to start. So one way where digital innovation is helping us build bridges with Africa is definitely meetings like the one we're having today. We're connecting from Europe and Africa, and we can share best practices and knowledge. So that's already a great start. Of course, the activities that you guys from the HUBiquitous project are running with actual capacity building are key, and we need to support those more. So if you have like hardware skilled building programs, that's perfect. So then again, another way where we can, even from a distance, support is with funding, and I might come back on this later, but I think one way an organization like ours can contribute is definitely by raising awareness and interest among investors based in Europe to support skill building and business projects in Africa, especially relying on diaspora networks.
Okay, thank you, Agatha. The Meet-Hub platform was mentioned. Also, one panelist spoke about the need for Africa to own data. Also in Europe, digital sovereignty is an important matter. In Europe, we don't want to have our data stored in other continents. So now here we have our two continents, Africa and Europe. So shall we be two islands, or shall we connect these islands? Any thoughts, Moitas?
Hey, thank you for the question. It's a very interesting topic. I wish we could have like another hour for this specific question, because it's a very sensitive topic, but it's very important as well. In all cases, I don't think that by any means we should work at two different continents or two different places. So we have our, the need is, it's very different, but at the same time, it has a lot of common things, okay? But when it comes to data especially, I think data is a very sensitive topic. We still in Africa, it's not like our priority issue. So either the data is in Europe or Africa or anywhere, this is not like that challenge that we face as we are discussing now. But Jan, it's as Abdul was presenting the HUBiquitous and IoT hardware, I was thinking like in the last 10 years working in the African continent, I see like very limited startups working in hardware. And when I was thinking about this, I was like, there is no law to protect like people who are working on IoT, for example, or hardware. And we see like hundreds and thousands of people who are developing just apps, So it wasn't like that wasn't a problem at this time. Like people are working on app because when you work on a software, just software, you don't face these many challenges with the government, with like importing, exporting, with logistics. But that's why, for example, a sector like fintech is booming in Africa. Like we see like $3 billion USD going to this sector in just 1 year. While for IoT, for example, we're still struggling to even like incubate this type of innovations and bring them and tell them, look, this is like what HUBiquitous, for example, it's a very interesting tool and very important to introduce this like safe environment for young entrepreneurs to come and to rebuild this like hardware industry back to Africa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matas. I fully agree with you that I wish we had another hour to discuss this amongst us. I would like to thank the panelists to be here with us, and of course all the audience members to log in with us today. All the speakers left their contact information. Please feel free to reach out for follow-up questions. I'm sure they will be delighted to interact with you. So thank you for attending this workshop, and hopefully see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Take care.